telling you my problems, meditating my silence. But I keep pushing my pen, rotating my stylus.
Something that I have been thinking about as a writer and as a consumer of books and stories, but specifically comics, something that I've been digesting since I was a child and could not read. I have been reading comics. The conversation about writers in reviewer spaces and how that is not the move. That's not right. Whatever. We all know. But essentially how, the reviews are for the readers. And I have been podcasting about comics and specifically characters in comics, people of color and related media and all that stuff for nearly a decade. And part of my position, job, focus has always been to break down these stories and break down these characters, give my opinion on them, and also go over their histories, sordid histories, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, and all that. What just hit me, and I know this isn't a brand new idea, but going back to the thought of reviews being for the readers and not for the author, and authors not being in those spaces. In comic books, I don't want to say that that's literally different, but I can say that I've never negatively reviewed, discussed a comic, a character, or something like that, and then also tagged the writer and the artist and the penciler and the inker. Like, I've never done that. And I may have been like heavily critical at whatever point in time, but it's never been, oh, I freaking hate this story and this art looks like trash. And like, it's never been that. And I think it may be a very blatant one-for-one comparison between like prose books and comics, but that's never been the space that I was in. And I know there have been some people who did not feel the same, and they're going to say, hey, you did this wrong or whatever else. But even when I'm critiquing, like, there is I forget when it was, you guys, the Marauders comic, the Kitty Pryde led pirate team that had Storm either on it or in it for a few issues, and the colorer made and I'm not going to say made the mistake because it was intentional, they do this all the time, making Storm so light she looked like a white woman. And I remember having my concerns about it and talking my shit, and I want to say there were people who were tagging the colorer, but I think in that instance I don't know, y'all let me know, is that different? Because I also recall, and forgive me for not remembering the book, if I can remember, I'll put like a photo of it up, or I'll put it in the show notes. But there was the author who was a white woman. This was years ago. This had to be, I'm going to say 2014, 2015, where she wrote a book, very Harry Potter-esque, magical kids, and I think in like fantasy apocalyptic space. But the thing that she got in trouble for was describing the black characters and their hair in a way that was very problematic, for lack of complete details. But it was like how they were like these creatures that would feed off their, essentially being like having like dirty, filthy hair. I may be wrong on this part, but I think she may have said some disparaging things or described characters in ways that are like stereotypically like negative Jewish descriptions as well. Oh, I need to try to remember, because I remember listening to a podcast about with these two ladies who discussed that book and how that author then went and changed those instances in like her, I don't know if it was a re-release or if it was like, let me just change it across the board. But I say all that to say, I feel like those instances are a bit different, because it's one thing to say, oh, I read this book and I didn't like it. I did not like the characters. It didn't resonate with me, such whatever. But there's the other thing that goes into you being harmful in your art. I could say, oh, I don't like Bella because she's so silly. Why would you get yourself in these weird situations? But then there's another thing to be like, I don't like the way Stephanie Meyer depicted these natives, these indigenous people, and how you ripped this from actual real cultures and you kind of bastardized it. Like, that's wrong. Even getting to other media like Riverdale, it's okay to be like, oh, they went off the rails with these stories. Every week is something different. I don't really like that. But then it's another thing to then have them, in the same vein, use indigenous folks and their trappings and then place it on this South Side lower caste group of people. And even like with Tony Topaz, oh my God, like they just dropped the ball in a way that was like very harmful. If you're going to include people in things that are not part of your culture and do it in a way that makes it negative or I feel like if you're going to do that, you need to put in the work. You need to get the sensitivity readers. You need to get the people to say, hey, and does this make sense for this culture? Does it make sense to do this, that, and the third? All in all fiction is just that. It's fiction. It's stuff that's made up. People can do what they want. But I do think that there is a conversation that separates not tagging writers in negative reviews, and then there's another thing where it's like, this is a harmful thing that you are putting in this work. But even then, I don't know, because I come from the comic book space, I still don't know. I don't know, because there's so many instances in comics that I can think of, like the X-Men run from, I want to say 2016, where, and forgive me y'all, I'm driving, I cannot remember the guy's name, but he had put some pretty anti-Semitic things in the X-Men comic, in which Kitty Pryde, a Jewish mutant, was the lead. Like, she was the leader of the X-Men, and it was such a weird. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess I'm parsing out my feelings, but when it comes to something that's, oh, I just don't like this, I didn't like this book. Yeah, why would you? Who wants their art thrown back in their face with a lot of negative comments? But then there's the other thing where it's like, I don't know. Should you be describing women this way? Should you be whitewashing black characters this way? Should you be leaning into this stereotypical fucking harmful language and imagery? Especially when, and I don't know if, I'm going to say this and I don't know if this is exactly it, but when there is nothing, when it seems to be like haphazardly thrown in. Like, there's a way to have, like in the 90s, a very special episode. Oh, the gun episode. Oh, the HIV episode. Oh, the domestic abuse episode. Like, those are things that books can have bad things in them. Like, that you can do that. But to have, I don't know, y'all. I think I'm making sense. If I'm not, let me know. I'll happily try to follow up with something else. If you have any questions about the things I've said, or there's a point that you're like, oh yeah, talk about this more or whatever, let that be known. But it's just, all in all, coming from a space where I have been consuming and reviewing and critiquing comic books since I was a literal child, then going through school and having to do the same for novels and whatnot, and then getting to a space where I myself now am writing and preparing to publish works of art, literary works of art that will be dissected by other people. we have the ongoing conversation about writers not being in reviewer spaces, but there's something there that maybe I don't have the words for quite yet, but keeping that idea in mind that reviews are for writers, not for readers, and then adding in my 100 years, because I'm a vampire, my 100 years of comic book reading and critiquing experience and being in that culture, because there is a culture of that, and how does that translate, or can it even translate, because they're two different types of books, or does it automatically translate that same idea of reviews are for readers, not for writers? I don't know, but either way, if this has sparked some thought in you, please leave a comment, tell me about it, let's have a conversation in the comments. But yeah, I'll wrap this up here, because this is an interesting thought. So I'm Ray Coleman. I write stories about Black people in varying situations, anywhere from romance to love stories to paranormal to sci-fi. Like, I just write. I love writing. Been also doing that since I was a child, 100 years ago. So follow me on my writer's journey. Follow me on my podcasting journey. I have, 9+ years of ranting and reviewing comics. All right, y'all.
He slept in his arms, beautiful and angelic. Jackson sealed the innocent evening with a kiss to her frontal lobe.
Baby, boop, baby. Boop, baby. Hey, smile, Daddy, it's the bachelor party. You f***ed me up. Oh, shit. Yo. What you doing, man?